Hello everyone. So right now we're going to talk about the major bull run that has happened with companies such as Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon, Apple, and Palantir. So in this recent bull run, if you were lucky enough to get yourself into Tesla stock, you would have been up 178% year to date for 1 year. Not year, and year to date you would be up 52%. So interesting enough, Tesla is at its all-time highs, and I believe it still has room to go up, but it's still better now to diversify and get some chips off the table for Tesla and diversify into new innovative technologies and companies. So, the major fundamental analysis you're looking at Tesla is how did we win with Tesla before, to get to $1,100 per share from a starting, from a 1 year prior starting point of $400 a share? Well, basically, it's because of Elon Musk. His brain is extraordinary. He knows how to scale production and manufacturing, which is the key to any hardware product, and he's able to convince the best software engineers to join his companies, which solves the software problem. So if you have that man, then you have solved most problems that anything he touches will turn into gold. With 1.1 trillion market cap, I believe Tesla has the potential to grow, to 3 trillion with the advent of solar roofs coming out more frequently, the sales of their new mega packs to various states and government entities. But the biggest thing is to diversify yourself out of Tesla. You want to be buying SpaceX. The reason why you want to be buying SpaceX is because you will be still receiving the same innovative thought process that Tesla shares, which is the mind of Elon Musk. Now, currently, SpaceX is trading at around $100 billion market cap. So, if you believe that he can bring it to 1 trillion market cap by working with, NASA as its primary source of client, is NASA and the government, as well as providing space tourism in the future, and Starlink for broad internet usage across the globe, and then further down the line a moon based, and yeah, a 10x return on 100 billion current market cap of SpaceX that's traded privately is, a possible thing in my opinion in the next 5 to 10 years. So going forward, the question is how do I get the max exposure to SpaceX, sell some of my gains in Tesla shares, and divert it into space exploration technologies. And that ticker symbol for the I've searched hard day and night for any exposure and the most exposure I can get to SpaceX, and that's through the Barron's Partner Mutual Fund. So the BPTRX is the ticker for this mutual fund, and currently I broke out their holdings to show you what you would be doing if you sold some of your gains in Tesla shares and diverted it into BPTRX. So based off of your portfolio balancing, when you sell some of your Tesla gains, right? Let's say you sell $100,000 of your Tesla gains and divert it into BPTRX in order to gain the Space Exploration Technologies Corp exposure, you would be gaining you would be exposing yourself by 4.2%, and then only delevering yourself from your current initial investment of Tesla by 60%. Um, so you'll still have 40% exposure to Tesla and the mind of Elon Musk through EVs and cars. Now, 4% of his brain power and his innovative thought process will be, returned to you through SpaceX. So this is the most exposure you can find on the public markets at this date. Unless you were an employee of SpaceX or a accredited investor in the very first seed rounds and venture funding rounds with SpaceX, you would not be getting as much exposure as 4.2% of a privately held company. So here's a breakout. You will have, around 44 or 45% of exposure to Elon Musk through Tesla and SpaceX, and the other 55% will be part of very um, very generic uh, companies that are tied mostly to the returns of the S&P 500. You'll have you'll have some hotel companies. Zillow Group is doing some financial services with buying and selling homes online, and the Charles Schwab Group is one of the largest online brokerages in the US. So I think you'll have a nice beta return or market return with the other $55,000 of your $100,000 reinvestment, portfolio rebalancing out of Tesla gains. Now, one thing to note is that the expense ratio for BPTRX is 1.3%, which is quite large for a one of the on the upper end of expense ratios for most mutual funds. But for the premium and the benefit of gaining the most exposure for SpaceX, I think this is a reasonable price. Now let's look a little bit more into the owner, which is Ron Barron. Currently, you are able to see that if you were to invest $25,000, you gain a little bit of a perk, and that perk is you'll be able to join their conference.
So you're very famous having a conference in your annual shareholder meeting, I guess, in New York, and you have a lot of famous people there.
People call it my annual bar mitzvah.
Annual bar mitzvah, and you've had very famous people. I don't know if you're allowed to say who they were, but they're great entertainers.
McCartney, Barbra Streisand, Billy Joel, Elton John, Jerry Seinfeld. We have a lot of and I pay for that. That's not the investors. If they have at least $25,000 invested, they can come to that meeting.
So is it easier to negotiate with the CEO or Paul McCartney or Barbra Streisand?
So that's pretty interesting. That's an additional perk that you'll get. Maybe it probably comes out of your 1.3% expense ratio. So you are paying for it, but still, he's gonna pay for it through his fund, uh, taking it out of his expenses from the 1.3% expense ratio. But that's an interesting perk if you were to invest $25,000 into his mutual fund.
Funds.
The normal is $2,000, but you can invest for as little as $500 and $50 a month. No fees to buy or sell. But if you sell within 3 months of the time you purchase, you can sell the next day. But if you sell within 3 months, then we regard you as a trader, Trader, and you're not going to be allowed to buy with us anymore.
It sounds like a Traitor.
Right.
Yeah, so that's an interesting concept of a mutual fund. So what they want you to do is to hold for longer periods within their fund, and if you're a trader, or you buy and sell their shares, their mutual fund shares, BPTRX, within the 3 months, they won't allow you to purchase it again, so you won't be able to get back in and benefit from the exposure to their holdings, which is primarily SpaceX, which is the most enticing because you can technically build out their basket of holdings yourself, except for SpaceX at this current time. So 1.3% expense ratio is something I am personally willing to pay for that exposure. Now, if you've invested 25,000, you can go to their New York conference on an annual basis, and on top of getting the chance to listen to Billy Joel and a bunch of other old classics, you can also basically at those meetings, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to meet a lot of people with similar interests and investment strategies, and people with high net worth that you can leverage and become, acquaintances with. So that's an interesting concept to, look at the ancillary benefits of owning this mutual fund, as well as learning more about how the wealthy uh, are thinking. So this is a calculator of expense ratios. So typical cheaper mutual funds charge 0.6%. Ron Barron is charging 1.3% investment of $10,000 with no additional annual principal put in or cost put in at a return of 10% yearly over a course of 30 years. You're paying $52,000 in expenses. Um, that's after after all the growth. And then if you were only charged 0.6%, you would be paying 26,000. So that's almost double, right? That's pretty much double the expenses. So that's the only downside. But if you did a calculator of what SpaceX would be returning you, if you believe in the company, then it's well worth the 1.3% or the 50% or the 100% extra expenses that you would be paying to Ron. Now, so that's pretty much the setup that I think I'm seeing currently for diversifying. You want to diversify into the same person, but just diversify into a different industry. What you're seeing with Tesla is that it's being over competed with Lucid Motors as well as Xpeng and Neo. So that might chip away at their car profits, but they still have other products such as the solar roof, the supercharging network, as well as their um, 100%. They have the lead in robotaxi software. So consider investing in BTRX. I'm not sponsored. This is not financial advice. This is just what I've done for my research to figure out who has the most exposure to space exploration technologies. All right, thank you.